think Twilight fans are delusional, and I think that you are genuinely ruining Stranger Things.
Oh my God, are we recording? Are we recording at this point? For the love of God. What is happening here? Lilo and Stitch, Minecraft movie, Jurassic World Rebirth. What is with the box office?
Yeah, there's only one movie. Actually, let's see. I should have done this math beforehand. There are only, two movies that have come out this year that are in the top 10. Or at least that are in the top 10 box office numbers that are in my personal top 10 favorite movies of the year. Only two. I'm not going to tell you which two, but there are only two movies in the top 10 box office that are my favorite movies. And then the next one isn't until too far down the list.
This is... I don't like...
Wicked for Good made $500 million.
Which I'm still surprised by. I acknowledge that For Good was not as good as the first. And in your words, it sucked and it was bad.
It was.
I don't dispute that fact. That being said, that movie still should have made more than what it's made so far. Like, it just surprises me. It also, the drastic drop-off when you get to the 10th mark is insane.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
not even that.
The number differences between the top 10 is, so number 10 is Superman. We're talking about the top 10 box offices because this episode's going up late because of scheduling things and family and holidays. Whatever. So literally tomorrow is New Year's Eve. We're talking about the box office wrap up of the year. And number 10 is Superman. It's $616 million. The next movie is F1 at 631. Then you go up and you have How to Train Your Dragon live action at 636 million. You have Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle. By the way, these are worldwide numbers, not domestic numbers. At 716 million. You have Avatar Fire and Ash already at 761. It might hit a billy. I'm doubting it might. If it'll hit a billy, I don't know. In my opinion, the least surprising but the most abhorrent is that big jump, like $100 million jump from Fire and Ash to Jurassic World Rebirth at $869 million. Then another $100 million jump from Jurassic World Rebirth to a Minecraft movie. And mind you, I'm not mad at or surprised that a Minecraft movie made as much as it did. It only made that much, though, because it became a meme. That's the only reason that did well, is because it became a meme and movie theaters were selling out because people wanted to go ballistic. When I saw that movie, I was one of 4 people in that theater. So don't tell me that, it was selling it. 4 people were in the theater when I saw it. So that's crazy to me a little bit. Then you have another nearly $100 million jump to Lilo and Stitch live action, which, that's atrocious. I didn't see that movie because I'm boycotting most of the live action movies. How to Train Your Dragon's an exception because it's not a Disney live action. It's not in my top 10 of the year, but it's a good movie. Carson did see Lilo and Stitch, and you...
Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. That should say it all.
Look, Lilo and Stitch, I can't say it fully surprises me, because that original Lilo and Stitch movie is so damn appealing.
Oh, it's so beloved. I love the original Lilo and Stitch.
It's so good. And it doesn't surprise me that a live-action Disney movie would make a lot of money like that. Especially that one. Because here's what I will say. As much as it's not good, I do give Lilo and Stitch some credit. It's not Snow White. It's not the worst of the live-action Disney remakes this year. And if I was held at gunpoint saying, watch this or watch Snow White, I would wholeheartedly watch Lilo and Stitch.
I haven't seen either, and I agree with you. Because based off of, the press cycle, what we know, so many things.
But obviously, it's not nearly as good as that original animated classic. And the fact that it's number 3 is just, like you said, abhorrent. And there's just such a clear drop-off here. And Avatar is going to continue to climb. I would more likely than I expect Avatar to at least top Jurassic World, and it's probably going to settle around there. I want it to make $1 billion because the others made $1 billion. I just think with how we're in its 3rd week.
Yes,
technically second,
because they came out the week of Christmas or week before Christmas? It was the week before Christmas.
It was the week before Christmas,
Yeah.
so it might be the second. I don't know. It's one of the weeks.
It's
one of the weeks. 2 or 3, whichever one. And that's around the mark where it's going to start slowing down, especially the only thing that's going to keep it fresh, people that really love the movie and people that just want to see the next Doomsday trailer.
Yeah.
Which, if that's part of the reason why the Doomsday trailer, I know we talked about this last week, that's part of the reason why they released them, that's really stupid. I'm sorry.
It is. Another thing, because here's the thing, and this is what always irks me about whenever we look at the biggest box offices of all time. Top 2, Avatar 1,
yep,
and Avengers Endgame.
Yep.
Titanic, adjusted for inflation, we're not talking about that. It's Avatar and Avengers Doomsday.
Yes.
The thing that irks me about that is one of the only reasons that Avatar is so high up there is because it's been re-released so many times. It got re-released before Way of Water. It got re-released before Avatar Fire and Ash. It got re-released before those movies came out. It's been re-released multiple times in theaters. It got re-released for the sole purpose of beating Avengers Endgame.
Because Endgame did it.
Because Avengers Endgame beat it. Now, Avengers Endgame has only ever been released once in theaters for the official release. They are re-releasing it before Doomsday. I don't have a problem with that, though, because Avatar is abusing the system, in my opinion. Now, I know this is a controversial take because I hate Avatar. I'm an Avatar hater. But I think it is abusing the system, and it does throw the box office numbers off. And it is kind of like I don't know why I'm talking about this now, but it's just something that I've always thought about that is kind of annoying in the sense of Avatar is only the highest grossing movie of all time, because it's been released so many times.
Correct.
Also, another reason why Avatar movies always perform the best is because they're always released in the most expensive format. So they already have a home field advantage of $10 additional per ticket on average.
It does, and it also does factor back, like you already mentioned that Endgame has not been, re-released in theaters. Another big draw of why Endgame's gonna get a ton of money, not just because it's re-released and everybody likes Endgame.
I'm gonna rewatch it when it goes back into
I'm gonna
theaters.
rewatch it too. But there is kind of a spoiler that goes in for Doomsday, which is that, and obviously this was never the original roadmap, is Endgame is going to be a lot more of a sequel to Doomsday than they had originally planned.
Correct.
And they have already said that not Doomsday, Endgame is coming back out in theaters with a post-credit scene, which it never had in theaters. That's going to immediately connect to Avengers Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already on its own merit. It's going to have a specific draw. I think it's going to be fresh off the back of Brand New Day at that point. When are they re-releasing? Is it after Brand New Day?
It's close to Doomsday, I believe. Like, pretty close.
Well, it's going to be fresh off the back of Brand New Day with all the Tom Holland, Sadie Sink isms that are going to be in that movie.
Dude, I'm so excited for Brand New Day. I know that no other Marvel movie hit even close to a Billy this year. I hope Brand New Day is good enough to hit a Billy. Because all the Spider-Man movies, all of them hit a Billy.
Brand New Day, I'm not worried about Brand New Day. It will do well financially. I just want it to be good.
True.
And I loved No Way Home, but if we're objectively being honest with ourselves, as much as I love No Way Home and everything he did it, and I'm biased and I'll watch it regardless of what I'm saying right now, yes, it did hit all of the nostalgia factors in that movie.
I still think it's a really good movie.
I agree with that, but I acknowledge when people say that it is a nostalgia trip. That being said, I think
it is one of the better uses of nostalgia bait.
Yes,
because I always have the thing of, if you're going to use nostalgia bait, you cannot rely on it. You have to have something else going for you that isn't just relying on nostalgia. If your only reliance is nostalgia, you lose me.
Yes, and I've heard numerous different things about, John Bernthal being in the movie, Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. First off, we don't know we haven't even seen Hulk yet in any leaks trailer, and we don't even know what extent.
We haven't seen Mark Ruffalo in set leaks or anything. This is all rumors.
We also haven't seen Bernthal. We know
we have seen leaks of Bernthal. No trailers or anything.
No, that's right. We haven't seen any trailers, or we haven't seen what his role in the capacity of what he's doing there.
Well, that movie comes out soon.
It does.
It's less than 6 months away. That movie's right around the corner. It's what, May?
No,
I think
it's my birthday.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a little later than I thought, but still around the 6 month.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah.
But there's so much we still don't know about the movie. And Sadie Sink's character, we have no idea which character she's playing. I've heard she's a version of MJ, not MJ. She's MJ and Peter's daughter from the Sam Raimi universe.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that she's going to be playing Jean Grey, which I actually would be perfectly fine with. That she was the Jean Grey of our 616 universe.
I would not hate that. I feel like it would be weird to introduce Jean Grey in a Spider-Man property. I know they have connections somewhat in the comics, but I feel like it'd still be weird.
I'm just going off it. I've heard that she's playing a Spider-Man villain that would be connected to the Punisher in some way. I don't
There's
know.
been so many reports.
But
I will say I
all
love
that said,
Sadie
we don't know
Sink,
that.
so I'm just excited to see her in the movie.
Oh.
I think that, spoiler alert for what we're talking about this thing, I think Sadie Sink is one of the best actresses or actors in Stranger Things. She's definitely one of the strongest, so getting to see her in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I hope they don't waste her.
I don't think they'll do
I don't think they will, but
all that to say, going back into what we're talking about,
box office, yeah.
it could. I think it's going to make its money back at the very least, but I hope the box office does reflect, like how good the film actually is, and not just the fact that it's a Marvel movie that's out there.
Well,
I
clearly,
don't want it to be a brand new day.
Clearly, the Fantastic Four is the
Or Brave New World.
first. No, I know. But Fantastic Four is the first Marvel movie on this list, and it barely made $500 million, and it's at number 12.
Yeah.
So clearly, Marvel movies aren't like. It was a good Marvel movie as well. It's one of the better Marvel movies. But going back to the top 10, number 2 is Zootopia 2. It's at $1.4 billion, and then number 1 is Neja 2 with almost a billion dollar jump of $2.15 billion.
Yeah.
Now, I never was able to convince Carson to see this movie in theaters. I have seen the movie. Spoiler alert, it is in my top 10. It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
But I want to point something out. The domestic box office, the United States box office, was only $23 million. The foreign box office for this movie, now I understand it is a Chinese film. It's going to do better overseas. $2.1 billion.
Yeah.
This movie made more overseas than almost the top 2 other movies of the year made in the entire globe.
Don't fact check me on this, because I could be wrong, and honestly, because we can use it as a argument segment for next week if we want to. I'm pretty sure that a foreign film usually does better domestically than unless it's a big budget film like a horrible example, because I know it got banned in China, but Deadpool. Deadpool's going to do a lot better than one battle after another.
Yeah. Well, and Neja 2 did so well this year that it is, I believe, in the top 10 best top grossing movies of all time.
Yeah.
And it is also the highest grossing animated project of all time.
Yeah, that comes with being in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. But like, throwing out some other numbers, Zootopia 2 made over $1 billion, $1.1 billion of its dollars came from overseas. A lot of these movies are being carried by the overseas market, and I know that typically is the case, but it is kind of crazy to realize that Zootopia 2 only made $321 million in America.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad to me, in my opinion. It is. It shows that, in my opinion, that shows the down spiral of cinema in only America. And the problem is, that means that movies that don't cater to overseas audiences, like a Zootopia, like a Lilo and Stitch, which made more foreignly than in America as well, but the difference is a little different. It's a little more even. It's almost 50-50, actually.
Yeah.
It's sad to me.
Yeah.
Because we need to, we talk about this all the time. We are some of the biggest proponents of going to the theater. We are. We love the theater. I love going to the theater. And it is really sad to me to see some of these numbers, because I understand that there's a lot of factors, raising prices. But like, I was talking about this with my mom yesterday, and we talked about this before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. The subscription services are really cheap. You see 2 movies on the AMC Pass, you've paid it off. And I've seen I did the math yesterday, I think it was 37 new movies this year. In total, I've probably been to the theater about 50 times for old movies and rewatches of movies, where like, I saw Superman 3 times, I saw Fantastic Four 3 times, I saw Chainsaw Man 3 times. So I've probably been to the theater 50 times. And I know I'm a special case, and I know you're a special case as well, but like, I don't know. It's just crazy. It looking at some of these numbers is sad to me. Also, my cat is here.
The cat is here. My dog hijacked the last episode. Your cat
Correct.
hijacked
My
this
cat
episode.
is now addressing. Yep.
The this is where I'll cap it off.
Yeah.
At least for myself. The box office is just so odd today. It really
Yeah,
is.
this year specifically is one of the weirdest looking box offices I've
It
seen in a
doesn't
while.
really reflect the best movies of the year.
Nope.
It reflects some pretty good movies of the year and some weird choices in between.
It reflects a lot of the expected blockbusters. Again, your Zootopia 2, your Minecraft movie, your Jurassic Park, your Fire and Ash.
Yeah, I will say the biggest crime of that is probably Jurassic.
It is, but at the same time,
and that's
are
even
you
more than
really
Minecraft.
surprised?
I'm not surprised.
It's
but
not a good movie.
they're gonna make more, and that's the issue. Is I like that. This is not a shock. I've never talked about these movies before. I love that first Jurassic World movie. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's not beating the original Jurassic Park,
I don't think anything
but
can. They're
it's
classics.
really close for me. I loved watching that film in theaters 10 years ago when it came out.
Hmm.
I think it's genuinely a smart step forward in the universe.
And then they ruined it.
I was about to say, if it was just that film, great. But they had to continue making more and milking this for all it's worth. And now we have 4 of these Jurassic World movies, more than we ever had at the park movies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and maybe we can save this. I want to actually, we'll save this for our cold open. So start thinking about this now.
Yeah.
We'll save this for our cold open. We were originally going to do the box office for our top 10 of the year cold open, but we didn't have anything to talk about because, spoiler alert, I refused to watch the Doomsday trailers past the one that I saw in theaters. I know that it's about Thor, and I know the other one's about the X-Men. I'm going to get the topic spoiled for me, and I don't want to watch it. I don't. I've talked about it before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record again. I do not like the press cycle that we're getting for this movie.
yeah. We will talk about Doomsday at another
We'll talk
point,
about it at a later point,
but
but
just not right now.
start thinking about it. I want to do next year is a blockbuster mayhem.
Yeah.
Dune Part 3, 2 big Marvel movies, 2 big DC movies. We're getting some big movies. I want to do some predictions on what movies we think are going to be in the top 10 if next year.
Yeah.
Because, like, looking at this, the only thing that really shocks me that's in the top 10, not the only, is F1 and How to Train Your Dragon.
F1 does shock me. F1 really does shock me.
F1 is in my top 10 movies of the year. That's one of the movies that's in my top 10 of the year. But it is a little shocking how much money it made, and I'm shocked by How to Train Your Dragon. I'm honestly a little shocked about Demon Slayer, but again, that's another movie that was carried by overseas. It was 581 million overseas and only 134 in America. So not super surprised by that one, since I know Demon Slayer is huge in Japan, and overseas in general. But a lot of these movies are relatively predictable. I guess another one would be Lilo and Stitch, but only just because of how much money it made. Like, top 10, not the most shocking in the world. Number 3 at over $1 billion, and being only one of 3 movies to hit $1 billion this year, kind of surprising. So I do want to talk about what movies, like, is Dune gonna make $1 billion? Is not all of these movies can make over, like,
what you think is going to make it.
like, if you were to ask me, if we would get the movies that are coming out next year, pre-COVID, back when like 15 movies would make over $1 billion, there would be so many movies make, like, Dune would easily make $1 billion, Doomsday would make over $1 billion, Doomsday would make $3 billion. Like,
things.
all of these movies would make over $1 billion. Looking at what this year is, do we have confidence that all of these movies are going to make $1 billion?
Streaming services are taking over the world.
Yeah, they are. And unfortunately, a lot of people, here's the thing, it's not just streaming services. And I don't think we've talked about this before, but it's not just streaming services that are like taking over the world and taking away. It's also TV technology. 4K really big TVs are really cheap nowadays. Like, that might sound relative, and I know it's coming from a privileged perspective, but the thing that boggled my mind is my family and I had a really old TV, big flat screen TV that we took into a pawn shop. This was 2 years ago, maybe even like more than 2 years ago. We took it into a pawn shop. They would not accept it. they only accept smart TVs because that's the only thing people want. Mind you, again, this is 2-3 years ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if even pawn shops only accepted like 4K TVs nowadays. So it's not just streaming services, it's also the fact that TV technology has come so far. So yeah, watching a movie at home is going to look way better than it ever has before, and you also have the added convenience of being able to watch them at your fingertips.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But it's ironic because today's topic is about a show that's on a streaming service.
It is really funny. I didn't really put that together.
I put that together immediately.
But we are both watching the finale in theaters.
It'll be
so
it'll be good. Oh, I'm gonna start off on streaming and then I'm gonna go watch it in theaters.
I'm watching it for the first time in theaters.
That's for a different reason entirely.
Because I fly home tomorrow and it gets complicated because it releases. But
anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. What episode is this?
43, I think.
It's big.
43, 44, something like that.
It's somewhere big. Welcome back to the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host this evening, Carson, aka Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
And today, no shocker, continuing our talk about Stranger Things Volume 2, more specifically. Oh boy. All right.
We have not talked about, again, we always don't talk about things, but this is one of the most we have no clue where we stand on this, not even an iota, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and give this because I know we'll both forget. Spoiler warning,
Yes.
There will be no point in this where we talk about non-spoiler things, just be forewarned. The only topic today we have is Stranger Things. Carson had some problems at home, so he wasn't able to watch Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme will be next week. We will talk about it. Is it in my top 10? Is it in my top 5? Is it my number 1? We'll find out. But Marty Supreme will be next week, as well as, obviously, the Stranger Things season finale. We'll remind you at the end of the episode, but just wanted to give that note because we have talked about the fact that we were going to talk about Marty Supreme,
Yes.
And things happened and we weren't able to. I have seen the movie already, he has not.
Yes. And Isla's here.
Yep, and my cat is here.
Hi, girl. Anyway, I'm going to let you start, even though I don't want that to be the case. Please.
Well, before we get into that, this is our last in-person episode for a while.
Thank God.
Well, actually, depending on how filming works, our next in-person episode isn't that far away.
It's not that far.
It's not that far away. We won't give a specific date or anything like that because there's a lot of things that need to be figured out, a lot of back and forth on when I come visit. And, I already have a few visits scheduled for next year, some pretty early in the year because of events and reasons and stuff, but filming schedules and stuff might not line up, so won't make any promises, but there will probably be a few more in-person episodes next year than there were this first year of the podcast. That's the other thing. This is our last podcast recording before 2026.
Oh goodness, yeah. Hi. Scared me for a second. Yeah, it's... I didn't even think about that.
We'll talk about that at the end of the episode, actually. We'll save that for the end of the episode.
Recap of the year.
Yeah.
What happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We started a podcast. That's
We started the podcast.
And we're over 40 episodes into said podcast.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that more later. But yeah. Are you ready for me to...
Oh, God. Yeah, go for it.
So, Stranger Things Volume 2 is, in my opinion, pretty good. I think that it is not the strongest batch of episodes. Granted, we've only gotten 2 batches of episodes. I think the previous batch of episodes was objectively a stronger batch, but I think there were a lot of really strong moments in this in this batch of episodes. I think that Sadie Sink, I talked about it on the cold open, gives the best performance in Stranger Things almost in this episode batch with her relationship with Holly. I think that Will's coming out scene was really good. I think that the best scene in the entire thing was when Will controls Vecna. Stuff like that got me really, really, really hyped. There were, again, some blowout moments in this. I do think, though, unfortunately, the reason it's a little bit weaker is, and I talked about this when the first patch came out, is this doesn't feel like it's wrapping up 10 years of Stranger Things. And this batch being the second to last batch of episodes coming out before Stranger Things ends forever. I know there's going to be spin-offs and stuff, but they're already confirmed to be covering different characters and stuff. So this core storyline of Stranger Things basically coming to an end, it just doesn't feel like it. And I know that the next batch is one episode, it's over 2 hours, but when the first batch of episodes ended with Will having powers and stopping the Demogorgons and you're really hyped, when this episode ended, I was like, okay, that was a really good batch of episodes, but at the same time, I something felt off about it in a way where it's like, how are we going to be able to wrap this up in 2 hours? Like, I know that there were movies this year that are less than 2 hours that I loved, so I have faith in them, but it does still kind of feel a little weird, especially since we know we're going to get an epilogue, so there's only so much time that they have to actually wrap up the Vecna storyline, the Dimension X storyline. We got a lot of huge lore drops that I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think overall, I personally had a lot of enjoyment out of these. I just wish that I got a little bit more out of it.
Yeah.
I'll kick it over to you.
I'm gonna piggyback off what you said. I'm actually gonna help simplify what you said and kind of give you clarity because you didn't know what to call it really. I love Volume 2.
Okay.
I'm saying that I feel the exact same way you do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just using a different word to describe it. I love Volume 2 because I love Stranger Things. I love seeing these characters. I do like the progression. Everything they've chosen to do with their characters is the logical next step for each and every one of them.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah.
There is phenomenal scenes with phenomenal writing. They have some equally bad acting and bad writing in some scenes.
Not everyone is a Sadie Sink level
right,
actor,
and we'll get to that because it's mostly complaints from the first batch of episodes that carry over.
Fair enough, yeah.
The biggest issue that I'm seeing with this whole show, and it's unfortunate, because this isn't Game of Thrones. It's not wrapping up in the same sense Game of Thrones did. It's not shit. It's not gonna end the same way.
Well, we'll talk about the internet's reaction to this.
We'll talk about the internet's reaction. The biggest thing that this entire season is missing is stakes and urgency.
So,
and hold on. Let me explain why. I say that, and stakes might not be the right word, but urgency is probably the right word.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of these scenes that they've written, the Jonathan Nancy breakup scene, the Will coming out scene, Holly getting emboldened by Max to become what's the name that Holly the Heroic. Being that person is all beautiful and it's so incredibly well, and probably are some of the best scenes, if not the best scenes the show has ever had before. I mean, I cannot say how good these scenes are. They're phenomenal. But they're all placed in the wrong spots. And I'm not saying they have to be far off, but specifically, and I'm going to use this example first because this was the one that really dragged, was the Holly the Heroic emboldening scene with Max. The whole scene is set up as, we need to rush out of here, we need to go, and I get that you have to kind of lore drop to Holly a little bit, like, hey, I'm getting out of here, but you got to find your own way out of here. And you can give her a little spiel, but you need to run out and get to Lucas.
I disagree with you on that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
We'll talk about that in a second. And I'm not saying I hate the scene or the choice. You can have that. But when you sit there and people timed it, it's very close to 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes, where Vecna could have easily come up behind you and killed you because you were. It's like the Power Rangers when they're more.
Well, and that's what I disagree with, because we'll get into that.
You are ready for the argument.
Oh, buddy,
you are ready for the argument.
Man, I've been too chronically online with this batch of Stranger Things, and I know what everyone's complaints are, and I already have the perfect counters to all of them. So the second I heard you bring one of them up, I sprung into action.
Will's coming out scene. It's not the intention behind the scene. It's just where it was set. You can have rebuttal. I found a way to fix the scene so that it's actually better with where it is. First off, the fact that he calls everybody in there
that one I'll give you.
It's like, what does Mr. Clark care about this?
This I'll give you. I don't have a valid counter to this.
I'm like,
What is Murray doing in this?
What is Murray? Murray doesn't even talk to Will.
Exactly. There are characters that have never met Will before that are just there, and they're sitting there like, do I care?
No, the way I can fix the scene, I'll talk about how I can fix it specifically. There is a way I felt that I can fix it, but that was another scene where I'm like, okay, it's a great scene, but it's not placed in the spot I think it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it did give impact. But because those scenes are in a specific spot, you've lost your urgency for the finale.
Yeah.
Because, we need to go stop this threat right now, but let's take a few seconds so Will can have this moment and come out. That's fine. You can have that moment, but there is a way to fix that and make it work at the same time while the urgency is going on. And season 4 did it very, very well. So that's why I'm like a little confused on it. And there's other scenes that I can touch on, and we can get more into it. I'm sure you got a rebuttal for most of it.
Trust me, I do.
Overall, though, it is a not bad, not great. If you're a fan of Stranger Things, it's going to be great. If you are waiting for Stranger Things to convince you to be a good show, this is not going to be the batch of episodes that's going to do it, unfortunately. You either are in it at this point, or you're not. So
one thing I want to start on, and I'll use this as a segue as well to get into a lot of the internet controversies, and I'll use a lot of the points that the internet is bringing up as our main talking points.
I might not even know some of these points. I haven't scoured the internet.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about some of them with you. You brought it up really well in a way that I hadn't thought about yet, and I want to give you credit for that, because I think that almost every scene in this is really, really good. I think pretty much every scene in this core batch of episodes is really, really good. I do agree, though, and maybe I'm going to put it a little bit differently than you, but I guess maybe more specific, is it just feels like a collection of scenes. This batch of episodes feels less like episodes and more like a collection of scenes. Yeah. There's a little less connective tissue than maybe we've had in previous seasons or even the first batch of episodes as a driving through point. Because the Max and Holly stuff, yes, it's now connected, but was really standalone by itself. The Will coming out scene was pretty by itself with Will's own thing that's happening over here. Yeah. And I know that Stranger Things is typically a bunch of overarching plot lines that come together in the end, but to me, I do think that this feels the most disconnected out of all of them. And when you're talking about the finale of Stranger Things, you want to feel that a little less, because one thing we didn't even talk about is you also have Hopper and Callie and Elle in the Upside Down. You have the big reveals with Eddie and talking about Eddie with Dustin and Steve, yes. Which, oh my God,
we'll talk about that.
Do they know how to act out of that scene? Yeah. But there's so many good scenes, but it doesn't have as much connective tissue as I probably wanted it to.
Yeah, and it boils, like, okay, more so specifically, there are some stories that I think, I'm not saying they're weaker, but because of how disconnected and just it's hard to say. Mm-hmm. The Steve Dustin storyline.
Let's start there. Because that's one of my. Let's flip flop between positives and negatives this time, because I have an equal. Well, I have a lot of positives. There's a lot of things the internet hates, but universally the internet loves the Steve and Dustin stuff.
I think for every positive there is at least one negative about it, except the Steve Dustin stuff.
Steve and Dustin stuff was exceptional. I felt so much. I loved it. I love one of my favorite things in it is that Dustin is so worried about Steve and immediately is proven right.
Yeah, I think that their relationship through this whole show has been just such a joy to watch develop, because it really is this friendship, brotherhood. And I think most people during Volume 1 really hated how they were taking Dustin's character as an approach, and I loved it.
I disagree so strongly, and we talked about that.
I loved everything they were doing. Yeah. I thought it was perfect and a logical step for that character. And everybody hated the fact that he was being too hard on Steve, or Steve was being too hard on him. No, that's what happens. When you care so much about somebody, you end up pushing them away because you don't want them to get hurt or whatever. And all the emotions come out in this batch of episodes from the fight, which, oh my God, that broke my heart. Because
when they were like wailing on each other, I'm sitting there like, oh my god,
Like,
I know you're gonna make up, but it just hurts.
well,
You
it hurts
can
because the
feel-
context of what had been said prior was
Correct.
like, yeah, they were being absolute dicks to each other.
But there was a little twinge of truth in there, and I think that's what hurt Dustin the most. Is Steve was not entirely correct, but Steve had some valid points, and I think Dustin realizing that it hurt him so much.
I think what also hurts,
and it hurt me.
Well, what also hurts about that scene, and this may not have been everybody, but it was definitely for me. I never thought about Eddie's death in that manner. I wasn't thinking about the fact of Steve's right. He did tell Eddie, like, don't be heroes, like stay behind, whatever. Like, make sure you guys are safe. I didn't even think about the fact that Eddie technically died. I'm not saying he died needlessly. He still drew the bats away from Steve, Nancy.
Yeah.
Well,
that's where Steve doesn't have a valid point. He did do something,
he has a
but
valid point.
at the same time, he did take it a little unnecessarily far for his hero complex, and I think he is a little right on that. But it is also a matter of perspective.
And well, and Steve's perspective also is, hey, you're my best friend, and Steve's whole character through this season, and as much as it's funny because going into it, you think it's like, oh, it's going to be the Nancy, Jonathan, Steve storyline, and then they introduce this Dustin thing, which is first off infinitely better.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, is also a thing that it's just so depressing to watch. And Steve specifically doesn't like to feel like he's being replaced by Eddie because he always felt like he was Dustin's true best friend.
Correct.
And I think that's why that big, not makeup scene, but
well, it is a makeup scene. It's when
Dustin finally releases his emotions and says the things that he needs to say, where Steve realizes that Dustin is right.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing. And it makes so much sense, is Dustin only distanced himself from Steve because of how hurt he was by Eddie's death, that he doesn't want to lose someone close to him, so the logical solution is to distance himself from everyone. That way, if Steve were to die, he thinks he wouldn't feel as much. And again, it's not logical thinking, but I think, and this is what pissed me off so much about the way people were talking about his grief in the beginning, you don't think logically when you're grieving someone close to you. Yes. The last thing you're doing is thinking logically and sitting there and thinking about all this makes sense. That's not what you're thinking. You're thinking of pain and loss and hurt. And Dustin just wants to do everything he can, logical or not, to protect himself from going through that again in the first way he thinks of that. And it's a bad way of looking at it, but it's the solution. Distancing yourself from not only Steve the most, because he is the closest to Steve, so that's why he pushes him equally away the most. Equal but opposite reaction. It's a law of physics. He also pushes his other friends away. We just feel it more because we love seeing Steve and Dustin together. But you also have to remember, in the first volume, he pushed everyone away.
Correct. Everything that's written between these two and acted pretty much to perfection. Specifically, it is
Gaten Matarazzo.
I love Joe Carey, but it's Gaten Matarazzo.
I hope he has a beautiful career after Stranger Things. I know he will. He had a career before Stranger Things. He's one of the few that had a really good career with Broadway and stuff. But Gaten Matarazzo has proved that he is a powerful actor.
He's really good, and Joe Carey is always very good in this role, but obviously, it's clearly Gaten's scenes that are the best here. Their moments, I will say, and this is the first time I've ever thought this before on Stranger Things. Are you ready for this?
Mm.
Despite what the Duffer Brothers have already said about the finale of the show and where they want to leave things off and whatnot, and they could be lying for all we know, this was prior to that. These scenes with these moments with Dustin and Steve have confirmed in my mind neither of those two are dying.
They can't. They cannot kill them.
This is the first time I've ever actually said Steve isn't dying.
Yeah.
I would have said prior Steve is dead. Every season I would have said Steve is dying because Steve's a really cool character and they're going to pull a Game of Thrones and do that. This is the first time I've ever actively said to anybody, Steve's going to be
and we talked about this in Volume 1. I think that if you've ever believed that Stranger Things has never killed major characters. And the fact that people think that they need to kill major characters just proves to me that you don't understand Stranger Things. Like,
Yes.
in my opinion, if you think that it is a necessary thing for them to have killed major characters and you wish that they had previously, newsflash for you, that's not the story they sought out to tell. Therefore, they're not going to do it. You want to watch major character deaths every 30 seconds? Watch Game of Thrones. Watch Walking Dead. Watch something else. Don't watch Stranger Things.
Types of shows that are literally built around, not saying built around the shock value. They have shock value because the characters are so good. But that's the whole point of those shows, is you're watching to see which characters live and which characters die. Stranger Things was never that. The closest thing you got to, and this is what the Duffers did say, the closest thing they've ever come to killing a character was Hopper.
Yeah.
And
Hopper in between season 3 and 4 was possibly going to die. Steve in season 1 was supposed to die, but halfway through writing it, they were like, no, we love him so much, we want to keep him.
Right, we have a character that we can use here. If you're not satisfied with the deaths that they did give,
watch a different show.
They killed Bob season 2, which
hard. It was rough. They killed Eddie. They killed Billy, which Billy's a bad
I
guy.
was like, they killed somebody season 3.
Yeah,
who was
they've killed a character every season, because in the first season it was why am I blanking on her name? It was Nancy's best friend, Barb. They killed Barb. Then they killed Billy. Then they killed like freaking 30 people in Hawkins in season 3.
They did.
So there's been major character deaths,
and
like a bunch of character deaths. But again, this isn't a Game of Thrones. This isn't a Walking Dead. If you want major character deaths, don't watch Stranger Things, and don't be upset that they're not doing that.
Well, and that's not to say that there aren't going to be deaths.
I think that Mr. Clark could be the death of the season.
I don't know about he could get injured.
If they're going to kill someone, I think it would be Mr. Clark, because again, we've talked about this. No major character makes sense to die. They don't.
Not anymore.
Or Callie. Callie would probably die, but I barely count her because she would be basically the equivalent of a villain dying.
I would say and we'll get to Callie in a second.
In fact, that'll be the negative we talk about.
The only one who I think could die is Vecna, and we'll talk more.
But I don't count that because he's the villain.
Because he's the villain. There is still a chance 11 could. There is always that chance.
That would kind of invalidate a lot of her arc in the show.
I agree.
And we can talk about that a little bit later, about, like, you're taking this character whose entire arc is about the trauma that they suffered as a child, and your answer to all of that trauma is, she's dead now. We killed her. That's a terrible arc, in my opinion. And look, you can say what you want about the Duffer Brothers. I don't think that they're that incompetent in writing.
No,
I don't think that they are.
I do think we've reached a point to where, at this point, if it is shock value for killing off a character, it's purely shock value. I'm not saying they can't. They can, and they can sure find a way to justify killing off a character in this final season, even with all the things they've done. Especially because they have 2 hours left for this episode. But
I think it's specifically 2 hours and 9 minutes, but obviously trailer.
But at this point, I don't want that to happen, especially to Steve and Dustin specifically.
Oh yeah, no. Again, Steven's like roping it back and finalizing our thought process on that. Like, one of the best parts of the episode. There's a lot of great parts of this episode, but like, that confirmed to me that it would make no sense. And you could say, oh well, the next best thing is kill both of them. That's even worse!
Yeah.
Because if you're like, oh, well, they can't kill only one of them, because then it would invalidate the whole grief thing and protective nature thing that they just went through. Killing both of them would be worse!
Yeah. Let's change characters for a second.
Let's talk about a negative, because we're gonna flip-flop to a negative. Callie's bad. Callie is unnecessary. She's bad. I think that using her as a vessel to reintroduce the whole program is interesting, and I don't think enough people are talking about how crazy it is of that's the reason the military is here, and I'm glad that they gave the military more of a reason to be present. I don't love all of it.
It doesn't improve any of the characters.
Correct.
It does. It improves the motive.
If they could have taken Callie and the entire military plotline out of this with returning of the mothers and stuff like that, I think this season would be a lot better. I really do. I think that Callie is bad. It's not like the actress is bad. I want to make that clear. Does she give the best performance? No.
It's just the way she's written.
The way that she's written, the character that she plays, it's not interesting. I don't care about it at all. I don't care about her connection to Elle. I think that it's just like, I don't know. There's nothing there for me to grasp onto. I think that the way they're going about it isn't the worst it could have been done, because I think the whole, like a big reveal here is the creation of all of the kids is basically using one's blood. Originally, and this is You can see this as a retcon, and I'm curious to see if you see this as a retcon. The original explanation was drug trials. It was LSD, electroshock therapy, it was all of these different things, and that's what created a concoction of drugs. Now, the explanation is the blood of one. Here's the reason I don't think it's a retcon, and I don't think people are thinking about it this way, is newsflash to you, the military lied to the mothers. Boom. It wasn't just a concoction of drugs that they injected them with. Why did you trust them to begin with? It was a secret freaking thing. They're not going to tell you all the truth. I don't think it's that bad that it is one's blood, but I'm curious if you have thoughts on that.
No, I was going to say the same thing you did. I mean, it's especially once you put it together, it's not hard to think about the fact that the military just sort of lied to everybody.
Yeah.
And said this is what it was. But more specifically about like the military and Kali and all of that. Like, I love that she's pushing the arc. Kali's character specifically, I'm just like, I'm bored anytime she's on screen, and it's funny because all she's doing at this point now is sitting around with 11. She might have a line or two with Hopper, but she doesn't do anything at all beyond that, and so it kind of makes that arc really poor. The only thing, and I'm saying this like it's gonna save her character. Nothing can really save her character at this point. It's just poorly written. But the way they utilize her still can be done is we find out some twist that she's in cahoots with Henry in some way.
So a lot of people online are speculating that Callie is going to betray them and turn out to be a big bad. If they do that, I don't think it'll redeem it.
No,
but I do think it would be more interesting.
It'll make it more tolerable.
Correct. But I genuinely think the way they're going to go is Callie's not working with anyone. I don't think that's really been set up, in my opinion. I think it is truly going to be Callie believes the way to save the world is for both of them to die. She's going to try to get 11 to do that, and Hopper is going to stop her, or stop 11, but maybe Callie still dies. I don't know, but I don't think Callie is working for anyone else. I think that people just want that because it is better for that to be the case than for Callie to just not be an interesting character.
It could also be the idea that Callie, knowing that it's 11's blood they need, not hers. Because at this point, Callie also knows her blood isn't going to do shit.
Yeah.
That's clearly proving it's 11's blood. There could be a chance, especially with all the things that she says, like, I'm here to finish it, I'm here to see it through. Could just try to kill 11 straight up.
That might be the thing, is that might be the betrayal, is 11 decides that she doesn't want to die. She gets talked down by Hopper or something, but then Callie still tries to kill her, not because she's working for the government or working for Henry or anything, because I don't think that would make sense. I think that it would make sense, though, if she is so desperate to stop this from happening that she tries to kill Elle herself of her own fruition to stop this, and I think that would be a much better written than her just working for Henry or the government.
And it could work, I guess. Again, her character's just so poorly written that I don't know if nothing can really save it at this point.
Yeah.
And I do feel a hole in that character that they were clearly trying to fill when bringing her back. Here's the other thing. It seems like at this point, and this is what we all thought too when she first showed up, is they brought this character back for one reason, that reason being, hey, we want to fix the mistake of season 2.
Yeah.
With an episode that sucks. And so, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate.
Right. So technical difficulties, as I was saying.
Yeah. Anyways, yep.
Callie's ass, not her ass, but the character's ass.
Yeah, admittedly, it is probably the biggest negative for me of the season. And I really do think, and I heard someone talk about this online, and it's obviously not been confirmed, but there was something along the lines of the whole reason the Lost Sister episode happened in season 2 was to set a spin-up off. And the episode performed so poorly that they obviously didn't do a spin-off. However, a lot of people feel like, unfortunately, it is pretty obvious that the Duffer Brothers did not, as much as they want to say, they did not plan the whole season. The whole show has not been planned out from the beginning. They should just admit it. I feel like they're trying to cover their asses and it's only biting them in it.
I was about to say,
in
for
terms of
what reason are you covering your ass?
It's in fact more impressive if you can tell a story without having it all planned out and still make it good. But I feel like because people are being negative about the ending, they're like, oh, well, this has been the whole plan the whole time, so you clearly just hate the show. It's like, brother, just admit it. You didn't have it planned out. There were problems.
You could have
the
had
pandemic,
ideas.
the writer's strike. Yeah, they've had
that
ideas.
being a thing could have easily been a character from the birth of the conception of the
The
show.
whole wormhole thing, which I'm sure we'll talk about more in depth, that very clearly could have been something from the beginning. But
Colley's character specifically is them tying up a loose end that season 2 had.
Here's the thing: it's a loose end that they never needed to tie up. I think
that's
the big thing, and I think a lot of people are theorizing that this is the Duffer Brothers trying to be like, see, she is a good character.
Well, and again, back to it, her character doesn't add anything.
It doesn't. And maybe, here's the other thing. Maybe this is a product of the Duffer Brothers having everything planned out from the beginning, and maybe it would have meant more if this spinoff would have happened, and they just didn't properly rewrite it with the spinoff having not happened.
Look, How I Met Your Mother is the prime example of a show that knew exactly where it was going to go from the beginning, and then absolutely tanking because they wanted to end up where they were planning on going.
Yeah, because they didn't adapt and change it over time.
Correct. And Stranger Things could be on that path. We don't know.
Yeah.
All I'll say is Callie's character is stupid and I hate it.
Yeah.
Please try to convince me otherwise. Please try to change my mind, Duffer Brothers. Give me anything to show me why you would have brought this character back. And I'm sure there's a reason. Again, the only thing that I can think of is that she's giving Elle purpose for the end, but that also doesn't, you could have done that with Vecna and having him pass off like, this isn't going to end with me.
Yeah.
They're going to come after you. And I get they had to figure out what the lab's actually doing, what the military's actually doing. Couldn't 11 and Hopper just discover that on their own?
Agreed. I fully agree. That could have been something that when Hopper opened that door, instead of Callie being back there, it was just the pregnant women. So that easily could have been the explanation. I feel like it would have been, in fact, more impactful. Granted, it would have been a little bit more difficult to get the whole, big info dump that Callie gave, but also the info dump was just not greatly delivered. So
I was about to say, and this is such a minor thing in the grand scheme of this season because it really it has great impact on the world, but her character isn't doing enough to impact her character being good, but it's also not doing enough to impact the show being bad.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's why when I say I love everything they're doing, it's yeah, but they didn't do anything with that, and it didn't affect anything, so what does it matter?
Yeah, transitioning into another positive, and in fact, this is one of my biggest positives, and it's something that I've talked about when we talked about the last batch, or we've talked about Stranger Things in the past. Nancy's gonna end up alone. Let's go! Nancy's gonna be alone. She doesn't want Steve, and her and Jonathan broke up. I cannot tell you, I'm not even kidding you, I was cheering.
Oh, sure.
Cheering when they broke up, and specifically when she said she didn't want to be with Steve. I was so happy.
That makes sense. I do see an ideal world, and it may not be this show. I don't know what spinoffs they're planning. Did they say they're not planning spinoffs with any of these characters?
So we have had the Nancy book. We do have the animated TV show that's taking place between seasons 2 and 3. But at the same time, I have heard that there's going to be most of the spin-offs are going to try and cover things that fall outside.
Yeah, then that comes into play here. There is a chance at the end of the show that they're not saying, oh, Jonathan and Nancy want to end up together.
But they did. They literally said that in this episode.
I'm saying that they could still hint towards it. And a bunch of shows have ended that way before, where it's hey, they're not together now. They both aired out their grievances as they only got together originally for shared drama, but they did say at the very end of that they loved each other.
They did, but at the same
still
time,
have that.
At the same time, I think people are idiots. People are absolute idiots.
Oh yes.
I don't know if you've seen this. This is something that's been a huge debate online, and it blows my mind. It wasn't even a thought in my head when watching the show. So when I saw the controversy online, I thought that people were joking. I literally thought it was a prank. And the fact that so many people online did not understand that they broke up in that scene blows my mind. Have you seen this? Because I know you said you haven't seen a bunch of internet controversies. The fact that people...
My brother didn't realize. My brother, who loves the show, didn't realize there was a breakup scene.
How? They literally said, we're not proposing, throw the ring, and they broke up. People's biggest example is like, well, they said they love each other. You've clearly never been in a relationship before. You can love someone and still break up and it not be correct. That is in fact, very common. That's what we call a healthy breakup.
Right.
I feel like everyone who's complaining about it being like, that was confusing. You must hate all of your exes. You must have had only terrible relationships because there is a core big audience. I feel like the majority of people who have healthy relationships, literally the entire breakup scene was just them going, we got together because of shared trauma. There's a lot we love about each other. We clearly loved each other at one point in time because otherwise we never would have been in a relationship. But they spent the entire time talking about why they would not work together and why their relationship cannot be a thing. And that doesn't change the fact that they do still actively love each other, but they don't have to be in a relationship of a romantic type.
It's that the other thing I gleaned from it was and again, this is why I'm saying they could hint at it in the finale that eventually, years down the road, they could get back together. Is
right person, wrong time type of
right
thing.
person, wrong time. And it's the sense of they need to grow apart from each other because they got together with shared trauma and it brought them close, but there's only so far they can go with that. And again, when you look at season 4 specifically and you look at how the breakup was phrased, Nancy's like, well, you didn't apply to go to this college. I don't want to go to that college or this or that. Like they're all talking about things they want to do, and especially throughout season 4, they want to do all of these things, but they can't do it with each other. They need to grow on their own for them to come back together. That's why I'm saying they could hint at them getting together.
I don't think so. I definitely do not think that's the direction they were going to take because I feel like that is. They made this scene to be a definitive end to their relationship. So to me, they don't care about hinting at anything because I don't think it would make sense. I genuinely don't. I think that
makes sense.
This was written in a way to be the definitive end of their relationship, and it was a beautiful wrap up in my opinion. I think it was one of the best scenes in this batch of episodes because it was very emotional, it was very raw, it was very well acted. You can tell the chemistry between they're literally engaged in real life. You can tell the chemistry between the two actors, but at the same time you can also tell, and you can tell over the course of the last 2 seasons, I mean literally they got together because Nancy cheated on Steve. This was always a toxic relationship and people forget that. They think that this is a beautiful Nancy literally cheated on Steve with Jonathan. This has never been a good, healthy relationship. It's a relationship born out of trauma. And I'm not saying that those can never work, but that's never a healthy way to start a relationship. And so I think this scene is them acknowledging that and acknowledging that, yes, maybe years down the line they'll get back together, but that's not the point of the scene. I don't think it makes any sense.
No. And that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about like where it's actually going to end in the show.
I still don't think it's necessary. I think that they wrote this as a definitive end to their character.
That's just so incredibly factual. Every single show that has done this type of thing has done this before. Where they
haven't.
Every show that I've seen hints at it, at the very least hints.
No, this is a definitive end to their relationship. This is
right now it is.
We're not getting these characters again in this way in the future. We're not. They literally said.
That's the point of hinting.
I don't know. I so unbelievably strongly disagree with you on this.
That is the point of hinting. This is all like speculation too for an episode that's coming out tomorrow. And also, this is what's funny. This is the thing that if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter at this point because they did wrap it up nicely. I'm just saying, going by the playbook, going by what Stranger Things usually does and how it does try to...
When has Stranger Things done this before?
I'm saying that they try to wrap up storylines in a happier sense. If there's going to be...
This was a happy ending to these characters.
I'm not trying to convince you.
You're not going to.
I'm not trying to. All I'm saying is, going based off of stereotypes, which Stranger Things does play into a lot when it comes to the lovey-dovey aspects of things, there's a chance they're going to hint at it, especially when you listen to the dialogue that's being said to talk. It's not just me, the one who's thinking about this. This is the only other thing I looked up because I needed to think about some of this, especially after my brother couldn't guess that it was a breakup. I was like, okay, how many people are going to blow up about this? Everybody did.
They're all idiots.
Almost every single one of them that I'm hearing is saying, like, more likely than not, it's going to be hinted at the end. This is a necessity for the relationship to end because they need to grow as people, which that's a normal thing in life, which goes back to what you're saying, right person, wrong time. All that being said, again, if it doesn't happen, it's fine. They end it in a spot where it's like, okay.
I'd be willing to put $100 towards charity that it doesn't get hinted at.
That's great. I'm not making a bet.
Okay.
Because I don't bet on stupid things like this. That's like
your $1,000 bet for goat that we haven't even talked about on the podcast.
That's a legitimate bet. That is a legitimate bet.
This is also a legitimate bet, and I'm not making it against you. I'm making it against the show. If they make a deliberate hint about them possibly getting together in the future, I'll put $100 towards charity.
I just think that knowing where the show's going to end, because there is going to be some things, I'm sure, at the end of this that not everybody's going to like.
Correct.
It. I mean, in the sense of like it. There's going to be some pretty dour moments in their show. You need something that's going to uplift. And
I think that'll be Mike and Eleven's relationship. I think that'll be the best relationship, Max and
they're fine. No, that
like Lucas.
We'll talk about that in a second. That relationship's fine. That's not going to go away anytime soon. Mike and Eleven's going to be completely different. And I say this because I have seen set leaks. I'm not going to tell you.
You've seen the Hopper talking to him on the bench after the fact.
It's clearly 90s clothes. It's clearly the future.
The epilogue, yeah.
It's clearly the epilogue. There is a very strong chance that Eleven either dies or just doesn't make it to the end of the show to have that relationship with Mike.
We'll talk about that later. We will talk about that later.
But feeding back into my thing of like, this is why I'm saying I could take it or leave it. Hinting at a relationship between Nancy and Jonathan for the future would make a logical sense just to end on a happier note, because if you take that away, which is such a crux of the show, you need something like that to keep it uplifting. That being said, the Steve Dustin thing,
yeah,
that also could be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and again, I loved when she's like, "Yeah, no, Steve, no." I love that she definitively said no to Steve.
I think everybody knew. Like,
it was obvious, but at the same time,
as much as everybody didn't want Jonathan and Nancy to end up together, nobody wanted Steve and Nancy to end up together.
Correct. Steve is way too good.
So
for
at
her.
the very least, everybody wanted that.
Correct, and it was definitively stated that Nancy acknowledges that her and Steve, it's a no. Steve wants different things out of her in life. And again, that's another natural thing. They want different things out of life. And Nancy needs to realize which Steve very clearly knows what he wants out of life, and Nancy does not. And this is them acknowledging that.
Yeah. And another thing that furthers the point, part of the conversation was that she was like, I don't want to be with Steve. Steve knows what he wants in life. Nancy literally kept saying she doesn't know, which I'm going to stop talking about this because I'm being like a broken record. It just furthers the point of like, that's why I think the conversation's more so like right person, wrong time. Mm-hmm. It's not now. We might hint at it later in the show, but you're not going to see these them back together in universe. But you could see like a hint towards like, hey, they're going to learn, grow it. They might come back together. As like just something that's hopeful for the future, which again a lot of TV shows do. Mm-hmm. It's not that's what I was getting at. A lot of TV shows do that. Netflix has done that multiple times before. Big budget, not big budget, but multiple TV shows just over the years have done that before. It's not the most uncommon thing to do. I think it's logical to do that. That being said, let's talk about another relationship that's not happening, which is Mike and Will.
Okay, so I was going to save that till later. I want that to be our last conversation because I'm going to rant my ass off.
That's going to be a big one.
It's going to be a big one. I want to end with that. Okay. Do you have any other negatives? Because we just talked about a positive and we've been flip-flopping. Do you have any other negatives?
My negatives really are coming with each scene we talk about.
With positives?
I get... Okay, here's a negative that I...
Okay, so here's a negative that you had that I disagree with, and we'll use this as a transitionary period.
Okay.
The Max stuff.
Okay,
let's talk about this. What are your thoughts on the escape from Kamazan?
I don't hate the scene.
No, I know.
I think it's a great scene. I hate the fact that you could have added more urgency to the scene. Like, you just needed to add something more there so it didn't feel like you're just sitting. Like, and this isn't me. I watched videos of people reacting. It's like, go! Run out the door! I get that you're empowering Holly. I get that's the point. Then you also need to write it in such a way where it feels urgent, because you're just kind of sitting in a lull and you lose the urgency for it.
So here's the thing. there's no need for urgency. It is specifically mentioned that they use an exit that Vecna is not going to chase them through.
I'm sorry, when did they say that?
Literally, the entire point of where they're looking for is to go through Henry's own mind. They go down into the mines in a place that he is not going to follow. That's what they're looking for, is why doesn't he want to go through the cave? They don't want to go through the cave because there's the traumatic event that happens to him in the mine shaft. They use that mine shaft to go through, knowing that Vecna isn't going to chase them because that's the exit that they used. So why is there a sense of urgency? Vecna's not going to chase them. They've already established that he's not going to chase them through the exit that they chose to took.
I think that's and this is just debating merits of it, and we don't know. This is something that's never going to get answered unless you literally go to a convention and ask the Duffer Brothers themselves, which is that that whole hub world is.
It depends on how you think about the hub world. I agree, but the way that I think about it and the way that they set it up, I don't feel as upset about there not being a sense of urgency because it is specifically mentioned that they took an exit through the cave that Vecna is not willing to go through. Not yet. And also, another thing that people talk about and a big complaint that people had is, oh, well, what if Lucas turns the music off again? Because a big thing is Lucas, I love this, by the way, where Lucas stands on business, refuses to turn the music off. That's why he's the GOAT. He is. Yeah. I love Lucas so much. The fact that he doesn't turn the music off, people are like, well, what if he did? The whole point of that line of dialogue is her realizing and Max realizing that she never needed the music. And then you can be like, oh, well, then why did she need the music to begin with? Because the music always acted as a reminder of the real world. That's why music was the thing that they first discovered, because music was a connection point. But Max realizes that she never needed the music to begin with. She just needed Lucas. And now that she's realized that, the portal's never going to close again because she always has Lucas as that connecting point. A big proof of this is Holly doesn't have music. In fact, Holly wakes up in Dimension X with no one and no connecting point. And that's why you do need the scene between Holly and Max, because she needed her own connection point. And this is Max explaining her connection point to Lucas, so trying to find the same style of connection point for Holly, Max knowing that she's not going to have music because she wakes up in Dimension X because they don't know Dimension X exists. Yeah. She thinks she's waking up in the Upside Down, so she still understands that there is a chance that she's not going to have anyone or anything to pull her back, so she needs her own thing to pull her back, and that is Holly the heroic. It is her emblem. It is her reason to go back in her connection point to the real world, or at least to her real body. So that is why that scene matters, and why I don't care that there isn't as much of a sense of urgency, because you need to have that explanation, because otherwise Holly's not going to have a connection point. We need the explanation so that Holly has a connection point, and since Vecna's not going to chase them, they can have that conversation.
The only other argument I can see people make, and this is just people in my mind being stupid about it, would be, hey, you've been waiting for 2 years to get out. You wouldn't be talking to Holly no matter how much you need it. You would run to. And I disagree with that. Yeah, but that is an argument you can make, and people would.
I think I think that you can argue that the sky is purple. Like, I think you can make any argument you want and still be stupid. So,
well, they could be saying our argument's stupid too. Like, there's both sides, and both. At the end of the day, both are equally valid because both are a normal human interaction.
Well, because again, I will admit the whole thing about what you brought up with the hub world. That's a valid counter argument because technically I do not know definitively how the hub world works, and I don't think we ever will. But at the same time, the whole reason Max was looking for the exit through the point in which Vecna or Holly is looking for the exit through the point in which Vecna cannot chase them is so that when they get to the exits, they don't have to have a sense of urgency, because Max already screwed up last time by being in a place that Vecna could chase her.
It just depends on how you look at it. And again, I was somebody who I didn't even pick up on the fact that it wasn't like something that they could be chased through. I can focus on it's the hub world. Like, he can easily find you there. So that's the confusion. If they had dropped some sort of line of like, hey, we're here, but like,
I mean, they did, but
they did. It's confusing. I understand why the internet would be getting upset about it.
I think they're a little.
I understand why I got upset about it.
Well, I think they're a little too upset, but at the same time, what she did in Volume one was atrocious. So
I think,
so I think they're kind of just
yeah.
projecting that same upsetness to where they see this as, if you're not thinking about it in depth, you're just looking at it surface level, which unfortunately 99% of Stranger Things seem to be looking at the, like, fans seem to be looking at the show just surface level. I think that, yeah, you can just be upset that she's not running, but at the same time, if you look at it with any sense of depth, you can start to understand why this scene was necessary, why they didn't need a sense of urgency.
There is also the argument that, and this is the only acting moment from Sadie Sink, and I go, why wouldn't we have just chosen a different camera shot? It's when it's slow motion and she's running.
Oh yeah, no. Unfortunately, for this being the season with the biggest budget, the effects in that hub world during that scene, bad.
God. Well, it also, like,
Actively-
it just looks like she's not sprinting, and then it cuts to, like, her full on sprinting, but there's, like, a few solid shots there, like,
Yeah,
maybe,
it
like 10
was-
seconds where it doesn't look like she's running at all.
Yeah, there was some really weird camera work and some really weird effects in that hub world that did not match the quality of, admittedly, the rest of that episode or season. So
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. But
Well,
it
also,
wasn't big enough for me to have a big negative on it.
I love that scene. As much as I love that scene, it is really funny that Holly gets immediately captured once again. I get that.
Yeah.
I get why they did that, so they can figure out where the children are actually hiding,
Mhm.
what's actually, like, where Vecna's
Well, and
been
also
this
because
entire time.
if Vecna didn't catch Holly, she would have been blood splat on the floor.
That's also
what
good.
was going to stop her.
But Vecna did a good thing. He saved Holly.
Correct. Vecna, in fact, saved Holly.
It's really
Because if
funny.
Vecna did not catch her, what was going to stop her? She was going to be a splat on the floor. What, is Nancy going to stand there and like, no, she just fell from terminal velocity.
There is a alternate reality out there where Vecna didn't catch Holly. It's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess this is it
Well,
then.
and Nancy's standing there watching her sister splat on the floor.
I guess Stranger Things really do happen in Hawking, guys.
See,
Roll credits.
That right there is what people wanted out of Stranger Things. They wanted Holly to splat and be a blood.
That would have been a shocking moment. Holly, after all this, Holly dies.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so.
But again, this isn't that type of show. So, yeah.
Right.
But I want to transition over to another thing that's kind of an intermediary between a positive and negative. And I'm curious your thoughts on this, because this is one thing that we haven't touched on, like, nearly at all. How do you feel about the explanation of the Upside Down?
I like it. I
Okay.
think it makes sense.
I feel like it was set up.
It's
I
one of the
agree.
only things that you can genuinely go, okay, you probably did set that up from the beginning, and that
Yeah.
makes sense.
They literally talked about wormholes with Mr. Clark in season 1 as a explanation for the portals that they were going. Granted, it wasn't for the Upside Down; it wasn't the same context, but they did talk about wormholes to begin with. It was a topic of conversation.
It makes sense. It's a little weird, and it's hard to grasp your head around, especially when you look back and you let's imagine you're watching season 1 for the first time, and it was only season 1. In no way would you have ever thought, oh yeah, it's totally a wormhole. No, you just think the Upside Down is just another dimension that's open by 11, whatever. That's what you would have thought. And it is a little weird to grasp the reality of it. But once you get it, it makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that, like, is it my favorite explanation ever? No, but I also wasn't shocked by
Was there anything better really to explain?
Well, that's my thing is, I was not shocked by the reveal, which you can say, oh, well, I wanted to be shocked by the reveal. I don't take that as a negative. I, in fact, take that as more of a positive than a negative, because if you had it, I would rather not be shocked and be like, no, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, I could see how that be the explanation. Then sit here and be like, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that, and it be bad.
Yeah. So I don't hate it.
I will say the one part of the explanation that I people are saying is a plot hole. It is, and I don't think you'll probably care about it all that much. But the whole explanation that Dr. Brenner was in the Upside Down studying it, and that's where we found the notes and stuff like that. That's not a plot hole. People forget that the way the Upside Down works is it is a mirror of Hawkins, and so that isn't Dr. Brenner's notes. And maybe I'm misremembering the explanation in the scene, and maybe it does explicitly say that he was in the Upside Down, but from my remembrance, the problem people have is, oh, why does Dr. Brenner have notes studying the Upside Down? No, he just has notes studying the wormhole that are in the Upside Down, not because his lab was in the Upside Down, but because we are in his lab in the Upside Down, and we've literally showed that items that are in the real world, biggest example being Eddie's guitar in season 4, are in the Upside Down.
Well, and you can argue the point that Brenner was in the Upside Down at one point.
And maybe it is a plot hole. And
11 did open the gate. It would make sense that people would have explored it. He would have explored it.
Yeah.
They're saying that the mask was created by Brenner. That's the one thing I don't fully understand, and I think I'm going to...
The mask thing, yeah.
It's
that
like,
is
how
a
did
little
the mask get
confusing.
created?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to get explained.
I hope it does.
Or it already is enough to where you just kind of got to accept it, and I just haven't yet. I don't fully understand. I may at one point, I may not, I don't know.
I do agree with you, that was a little confusing, where they're like, here's this mask that's holding everything together, and it makes sense to be where it is, because it's at the point in which all of this started, but at the same time, I'm sitting there being like, what is this again? Okay, it's just a mask. I'll just accept that. It's the focal point for all of this. If we get an explanation, cool. If we don't, cool.
Yeah, it feels like one of those moments where it's just like, we're going to explain it really quickly just so we can sweep it under the rug and be done with it, because it makes no sense.
Yeah, I will say, while I wasn't shocked by the explanation of it being a wormhole, something that did kind of shock me that goes along with it is the whole thing on how they revealed it, in terms of, like, Dustin being the one to find the notes and dig through it, and then the way that they revealed it slowly, in the sense of, like, what's beyond the wall isn't the mind, it isn't where Holly was, and I was like, oh, I still thought that was the direction they were going. I still thought that was this. And then you zoom out and you see the actual wormhole itself. And we did have a big death this episode. Steve's Beamer. Rest in peace, Steve's Beamer.
Dude, that Beamer is just lost in time.
That Beamer is in nothingness. It does not exist anymore. It is in the vacuum of space and time. And it will be sorely missed. But yeah, no, I really liked the way that they revealed it. With it being like, oh, the wall isn't to Vecna's mind, it zooms out. I think that was really well done.
Yeah.
Anything else with the reveal or any of the explanation?
No, I mean, I've said it already with the wormhole specifically. It makes sense. There's nothing that could have beat it out for an explanation. Do I wish it was something more? Maybe, but I mean, what else could you really have done that would make me more excited? So
we have 3 more things to talk about.
Yes.
One is probably the least important, but I do want to talk about it, and it's going to be pretty quick. Miss Byers, the GOAT. Miss Byers. Actually, then we have 4 things. Karen coming in with the nuke. It was crazy. Does it make sense? No. Do I care?
Is it just
absolutely
action?
not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, did you pick up on, because I didn't at the time, did you pick up on that scene being a 1-to-1 of the kitchen scene from Jurassic Park?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't until afterwards, and then afterwards I was like, how did I miss that?
That was 100%. That was one of the first things I picked up on. That I actually made that reference in when I was watching it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about specifically with Joyce?
I didn't mention Joyce. I mentioned Karen.
Oh, you said Miss Byers.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
So I thought you were talking about Joyce. Like, what did Joyce do?
No, yeah.
Okay.
No. So my thing was, I said Mrs. Byers because I was thinking of the next topic of conversation, but I wanted to talk about Karen first.
Get Karen, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That was pretty epic.
Next.
Was it the best thing? Well, the reason why I wanted to bring that up next is because it kind of is ever so slightly a segue into something that the internet is so upset about. Actually, do I want to talk about this yet? No, I want to save it for last.
I'm about to say, I don't even know if I know what this is.
Another thing that's pretty minor, but I do want to kind of touch on. How do you feel about the Mr. Clark introduction thing?
I think it's a nice full circle moment. He doesn't add or do anything. You said that you thought he was going to be the death of the season. I think that he and Erica are done for the rest.
I think that makes sense. Like, they're not going to play any
major
They're
still in the regular world. They're stuck in the tower. They open the gates. I think that's all those characters will.
They're going to have a small role to play.
Very small, minor, if anything.
Flip a switch, say hello.
It's not. I think that was the whole point. I think that they're just done. There's nothing more to say about that. I mean, they'll come back for a few shots in the finale, I think, and I think that that's it. They're done for the rest of the show.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I will say, I like that Mr. Clark finally got an explanation, because this man has been helping them out unknowingly for years.
He's just so confused.
Yeah. Okay, now
it
is time to talk about the thing that I am so... I could talk about this for days.
Okay, you gotta give me more inclination here. Which thing?
Days. Byler fans are the most delusional human beings on earth, and I cannot put into words, like, genuine. This is from like the most genuine place in the world. How much it pisses me off because I am the biggest shipper in the world. I love ships. I love having two characters in my mind that maybe they'll never end up together, but I love it. But the fact that that is the reason that season 5, episode 7 is the lowest rated episode of the year is because Byler isn't going to happen is the most unbelievably delusional thing. And the copium of it'll still happen. It's not going to happen. They've explained it perfectly. I think Will's coming out scene was really well done. I think it was very emotional. I think it makes total sense. I think people saying that scene is bad don't understand what the point of the scene was.
Who says that scene's
so many people. So many people. So many people. And it is so unbelievable to me because here's the thing. People are making jokes online, and I know some of this is jokes, but a lot of people are genuine about this, where they are saying, oh, why is he coming out? Because, oh, what was Vecna going to do? Use his gayness against him?
Yes.
That was never the point of it.
That wasn't the point
of
it.
That was never the point of the scene.
The fear was the point.
Thank you. I'm so glad you understand this because the point of this scene was never that Vecna was going to go into his mind and unveil that Will was gay to all of his friends and make him down and stuff. That was never the point. The point was that Will needed to accept himself and that Will needed to have the confidence to do the hardest thing he's ever had to do in his entire life was to admit to himself something that he holds so deep and personal that he never thought he'd have the confidence to tell anyone. And if he has the confidence to do that, he will have the confidence to fight Vecna. That is the entire point of the scene. That is exactly what the scene was doing. It is very clearly what the scene was doing. If you believe anything else, I genuinely hate you. And that is the most genuine thing in the world. If you do not understand that you're stupid. And I believe you are the stupidest person in the world. I think Byler fans are delusional, and I think that you are genuinely ruining Stranger Things. Because the whole point of ships is to have cute little things that you want to have happen. But I think people forget that, like, the whole reason why, like, fan things exist where you go off and make, like, fan-written content is because of ships. Like, what's the term for it that I'm forgetting right now? Not fandom, where fans write their own versions of stories.
I almost said schmut, but it's not schmut.
No, it's not schmut. But if you want to write your own version of what happens in Stranger Things, go write your own version that has that as Stranger Things. Fan fiction. Thank you. If you want to write your own fan fiction about Byler, by all means. That has been the whole point of ships from the beginning, is to write fan fiction because it'll never happen. Do that. I love you for that. If you want to have that happen, beautiful. The fact that you are genuinely tanking the ratings of this show and are delusional enough to hate on these actors and their performances and tell them that they're bad is the most actively calling people homophobic, and you are so unbelievably toxic, and I hate you. Like, it is genuinely upsetting every time I open up the internet and I open up comments of people talking in support of Will's coming out and how beautiful it is. We talk about how they love that it isn't Byler and how hateful people are in the comments. You are ruining one of the best scenes in the entire show with your unbelievable delusions.
Yeah.
And it is disgusting. Like, genuinely disgusting. And I think that it is, like, I cannot portray how horrible I think it is what you're doing to the fandom. The fact that this episode is a 5.5 on IMDb because you don't understand what the show is trying to tell you is terrible. And I think that you can't call yourself a Stranger Things fan. I genuinely think that, because the scene is beautiful. It is amazingly acted. Does it make sense that everyone is present in that scene? No, but whatever. That's a small nitpick.
We'll talk.
Like,
if I can give my thoughts now, because
I'll let you give your thoughts. But
I don't hate anybody. Look, this scene is as close to perfect as it possibly could have been.
Yeah.
That being said, this is now it is the prime scene, because you got rid of the Max one in my head of the urgency is gone. Will had to do this.
Correct.
Yes. That being said, the way that this scene is fixed, and it also removes people from the scene, which is really funny, is there is a perfectly good spot when they're in the back of the truck, when you can literally be on the way to where you're going, or you're sitting there waiting to do what you're about to do as you're pondering. Similar to like what they did in season 4 when they're all in the RV and they're sitting there ready for battle. Will could have had his scene then with his mom, with the family. Everybody is who needs to be in that scene is literally on that stupid van. You could have had it there. I
See,
think
here's
it could
the
have been
thing.
written the exact same way. You didn't have to change that. It was just the location. Because Will literally said, everybody stop. I know the world is literally about to end in like a few hours. That being said, I need to say this. It makes sense why he says it. It's just the context of where it is and how it was handled that I'm just like, okay, it dilutes the urgency of the entire show. And it makes me go into this finale going, okay, clearly this is not that big of a deal if we're going to stop and have this talk.
So here's the thing. I don't care about the sense of urgency, honestly. I don't think it matters to me as much just because of how much I love the scene. But I was thinking while you were talking, and I'm gonna disagree with myself here, actually. I said that the nitpick of maybe it makes no sense that there were some random characters there. Why was Murray there? Why were some of the other characters there? I'm gonna disagree with myself because of a point that I made and I thought about. I actually think it makes perfect sense that he did it when he did and where he did it, because here's the thing. The whole point of Will coming out is not so that Vecna can use his gayness against him. That's not at all what they were going for. It is so that Will can prove to himself that he has the confidence to do something that is really, really difficult. Him coming out to the people that he loves is difficult, but is not nearly as difficult as coming out to total strangers and coming out to people who he doesn't know. That he knows that Jonathan's going to still love him. He knows his mom is still going to love him. He knows that his friends are still going to love him. Coming out to Murray and stuff, like, these are people, again, this is the 80s. People are very homophobic in the 80s.
Sure.
So these people that are there in this scene that don't have any connection to him could have been very hateful. So him coming out to not just the people that he loves, scared on whether or not they're going to accept him or not, coming out to people where he doesn't know if they're going to accept him or not, I actually think makes more sense.
So I'm going to disagree with that in a little bit of a sense. First off, they all know each other. Whether or not they all have scenes with one another, they are all really close together because
they're all
of the
aware
time
of each
and
other, but
it's not like a Star Wars where it's like, you know, Finn is aware of not Finn. Poe's aware of Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he exists. He's seen Han Solo. It's not like that at all. They have spent the past year, especially in between season 4 and season 5,
year and a
all
half,
working together, every last one of them. Just because they don't have an interaction with one another doesn't mean that doesn't exist, because it does.
That is true.
They all know each other, so it's not complete strangers like he's coming out to complete strangers. Secondly, it's what specifically about this scene that the urgency matters. It does, because that's what drives your show going into a finale. If you don't have that, or you say that it doesn't exist, then why do you feel the need to rush around? Why is there a deadline?
Here's the thing, though. I think, and maybe you can disagree with me here, there's almost always, in any story, a sense of the calm before the storm. There's always a slowdown. It's always a high, slow down kind of plateau, calm before the storm, before the ramp up. This scene was that last calm before the storm. It was the last scene that happened before they put the plan together that is going to launch them into what I'm hoping
That's a different thing
is going to be a non-stop, action-packed next episode, other than the epilogue and all of that.
That's great.
And this is the calm before the storm. So yes, maybe some sense of urgency, but you get an immediate sense of urgency after that scene when they start to put the plan together, and that's where the urgency kicks right off after the calm before the storm.
That's great. I'm going to also piggyback off what you were saying, because this was going to be my third bit of my conversation, which was, it's not him coming out as gay. He's accepted that he's gay. He's always accepted that.
Yeah.
And that's also what's so integral about the scene. That's what people aren't understanding. It's not that he's coming out as gay, and that's to be, like, you know, this is a topic that I'm always very bad on touching, because I don't want to make it sound like it. And I'm not Yay, so I don't know what this is like. I don't know how to say it, but this is just how the show interprets it, and they say it multiple times, especially when he's talking about all these memories and the visions that he's being shown,
Mhm.
or the things that he's thinking. It's not the fear of him being gay. It's not the fear of him being queer. It's the fear of being alone. It's the fear that everybody's going to turn away from him, and he's going to be left alone. That is the biggest part of it. No, not even scratch. Not the biggest part. It is the only part of it.
I don't think it's the only part of it,
Well,
but I understand where you're coming from. Well, because you are right in the sense of being alone, but it is still alone because he's afraid that people are going to leave him because he's gay.
Great. Let me finish this thought, because you had talked about how his mom and brother aren't going to leave him. He doesn't know that. His friends aren't going to leave him. He doesn't know that. That's the whole point of why he says what he says is, I see you all turning away, or you just feel worried for me, or you just feel sad for me. That's the whole point of that conversation, and why it's integral in that scene is he doesn't know what his friends are going to think until he says it. That's why the big, like, if he knew it, why say it? If he knew how they were going to react, why say that? We as the audience know that's not going to happen.
Well, so here's the thing. I understand where you're coming from, but there's two examples that I'll point to for, I guess, specifically two different characters. Jonathan already knows he's gay. There was a big plot point in season 4.
Okay, sorry. Jonathan does, yes.
Also, Mike knows he's gay.
Mike does, but it was never officially said.
It was officially said. Mike says to Will in season
3.
No. It was season 1 or 2 where he says, I know you don't like girls.
That's season 3.
Season
they
3?
have an argument, and that is literally that's season 3.
Yeah.
Brother, I watched the show for 10 years.
Okay, so it's season 3, but it is still explicitly said that is him acknowledging that he knows he's gay. So
great, but still saying it is a different thing. Mike said it, Will never said it. And his thoughts, especially
I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily. I'm just saying that he does know how some people are going to react.
And that's why I'm saying I'm furthering the point here by saying the scene itself really shouldn't have happened there. It should have happened in a different spot or location, specifically like the back of the truck when they're all waiting there. Because yes, that's why the urgency matters, because it's something he has to do, but you get rid of people that don't need to be in that scene for a lot of purpose, but also, you said something specifically that made me even think about this, but it was like something to do with like how everybody was like, I don't know what it was. You said something about it, and I'm not going to get this.
Well, I can't help you there, buddy.
Well, you kept talking, and I was on a roll, and now I'm not. I'm sad about that because I had a whole point. It should have happened somewhere else, because you just dilute to the point to where it doesn't, like, it matters. It's a great scene. Well, but now you lose every sense of bit of urgency for the finale. Whereas if you just put it here, they're still on the way to the mission. They're doing their goal. They're accomplishing what they had to accomplish. But you also keep intact the core value of that scene, which is Will coming out and basically admitting it. And then they can all have that moment of, we're never going to leave you. You know that, whatever. Whatever. On the positive, though, phenomenal scene. And this leads to a negative about something else.
Okay.
Noah Schnapp is a phenomenal actor when it comes to big moments and emotional scenes. For lack of a better term, because this sounds horrible. When he's in a scene and it's just a small line or a quip, or it's, for lack of a better term, when it's
subtlety.
When it's something more of a normal. It's not a big emotional moment, or it's not like a big intense
a casual moment.
It's not good. Like, I actually would go as far as say it's bad, and it's not just him. It's mostly the way it's written.
See, that's the thing that I've heard that complaint before, and I agree. He is phenomenal with his big moments. Again, when he is really emotional, when he's controlling Vecna, phenomenally acted. You can feel the intensity of the moment, and a lot of that is Noah Schnapp, because it's not the writing. There's no words there. He's literally just screaming, and it's really well acted. I can't fully agree with you, only because I genuinely don't know how much of it is the writing versus his acting.
That's like I say it's the writing, and I want to think it's the writing. I don't know. The only reason I say that is because Joyce also has a lot of moments this season where I'm just like, okay, that's not good.
That wasn't as well delivered as it could have been, but at the same time, it also just isn't a phenomenal line.
So I want to believe it's the writing because of it, but it could very well just be Noah Schnapp, really giving it in these emotional scenes, but just failing to deliver here. And it only hurts as bad because you see all of the other actors when they're in moments like that. Don't get me wrong, they have moments of bad writing too. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But it's not like when Joyce or Will both have just lines where it's just a normal, nothing's really happening.
Yeah, it's not as intense. And I agree with you. His acting is not nearly as strong. I just don't know if that's the fault of the... Here's the thing, though, and I guess this is what makes me lean on the Schnapp of the side of it being more Noah Schnapp's fault than anything, is a great actor can make bad dialogue look good.
Yes.
So Noah Schnapp is a really good actor when he's given a lot to work with, but he's not a good actor at making a lot out of nothing. So I think that's where he struggles,
yes.
And I am curious to see on... maybe he doesn't do anything after Stranger Things. In fact, he did an interview recently where he literally said that Stranger Things has financially set him up for the rest of his life to where he doesn't need to do anything else. So maybe that's him saying, I'm going to take a break and maybe work on my acting, or maybe not work on my acting and come back to it. I think Noah Schnapp will come back.
Well, and here's what I also will say. I'm talking about this like he's Megan Fox in Transformers. Megan Fox was not good in Transformers. In any, she took acting classes, came back for the second one, and it was still bad. It was better, but it was still bad. And he's nowhere near on that.
Oh, no, again, he can deliver really, really powerful moments.
It's just so off at times, and you don't know why. And I don't know if it's because of all the 4 kids, especially when they didn't really know if they were going to make it season 2 or beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
When they cast Will in season 1, they said, okay, we just need these intense moments of him being captured and him being rescued.
Yeah, they needed someone with intensity because Will isn't in season 1.
Right, that's all you had to do. So, again, I'm not blaming the actor. I'm not blaming the writing fully. I don't know what's there, so I'm not really going to blame any of it at this point. But then it really does make scenes like the coming out scene just so highlighted. Like, what? Why is this so good? Why is this not?
Yeah.
What happened here?
Yeah.
And it's so off.
Yeah. Well, because again, I think another example of we've talked about Sadie Sink. Sadie Sink is the best actor in that scene, and she has a single line of dialogue.
Yes.
Sadie Sink's line where she says I can't get up right now. You bet you have to hug me type of thing. That right there is she delivered it well. It's very believable. And I'm not saying it's better than Will's performance in the moment of him coming out, but it is still stronger than some of other of his scenes.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on something else, and I'm bringing this up because I thought of a specific example. Is you mentioned that the writing isn't always the strongest, and I can't disagree with you on this. I do think that some people are being too hard on certain aspects of the writing, though.
Probably.
One of the biggest examples for me is Robin. People are not liking Robin's writing in a lot of things because they feel like she's making a bunch of really bad jokes. Maybe you're going to disagree with me on this, but Robin's always been a character that's made jokes that are bad and in uncomfortable moments. Robin's character is that she makes really uncomfortable jokes when she feels uncomfortable or doesn't know what to say. In fact, isn't that a big part of her when we first meet her and we get closer to her, is that she makes jokes, and I will say, they're probably better in earlier seasons and they might not be as good, but right after or right before the coming out scene when she jokes about Steve and Steve's thing.
So here's what I'll touch on for this. Because I saw somebody say this and I completely agree with it.
Okay.
Robin's character is different throughout every single one of these seasons. And I say that because in season 1, yes, she cracks jokes.
You mean in her first season, not season 1. She's not in season 1.
Season
Correct,
3.
Season 3, her first season, yeah.
She does crack jokes. It's not nearly as many as it was in season 4, and it's not nearly as many as it is in season 5.
Yeah.
Her character was introduced as an intellectual, Russian decrypting person who genuinely was super intellectual, almost rivaling a Nancy intellectual, which was very interesting. Season 4, they turned her into not a bumbling idiot, but they definitely turned her into the butt of the joke, and she lost all intellectual properties that was about that character. Season 5 has a healthy mix, but that doesn't make it better because the best thing was season 3 when she was just smart, and that's why Rockin' Robin as a character works really well. She's finding ways to use code to translate to everybody, hey, there's going to be a crawl happen tonight. That's what works so well. And so I think it's not so much that people are, okay, people probably are, but the best way to word it is we're not mad at her saying these jokes. It's the fact that it's not what it was.
See,
That goes back to just everything season 5 versus season 1. People get mad about everything Stranger Things. If they hate it, it's because it's not as good as season 1. And
yeah.
I'm a firm believer that I still think season 1 is the best season. I love season 4. It was really close for me, but season 1 is just so damn good.
Oh, season 1 is amazing. I still like season 4 better because I think the highs are higher. But again, I can fully. Season 1 is my second favorite season, and it's very, very close. And there's only very specific big. Again, I think the highs are higher in season 4, but I think the consistency is there in season 1 to where maybe it doesn't reach the same highs as season 4, but it never reaches any lows like maybe season 4 does hit in certain moments.
But that's what, but like, so factoring into Robin, that's what I'm saying is like her character was written so differently in the beginning that people don't like it when it's changed in season 4, and in season 4 it really wasn't the best, so I completely agree with them. And then here it's like they're trying to balance both out, so it just doesn't work as well.
And I need to think about it some more, but I will say I do think that I think season 5 Robin might be my favorite version of Robin, only because I like that she's the balance. Yes, I loved when she was decrypting things in season 1 and she would crack a joke here or there, but a lot of her character was like, I think that she was a lot funnier than people remember her being in season 3, admittedly. I think she was still pretty funny, cracking jokes and stuff like that. Like, if you remember, especially during the interrogation scene and after they're coming out of it, like, she was still very funny. It's different, I understand, but I think that people forget she was still very funny in season 3, and then yes, in season 4 she loses a lot of her intellectualness, I'll give you that, but I think that I like that we're finally to what I consider a much better balance, where she has the moments where she can connect with Will. And the Rock and Robin thing is amazing. I love that stuff. I love that she is clearly the mastermind that put a lot of this together, and that is her showing her intellectual prowess. And then she can still crack a joke that isn't always going to land, but that's always that Robin, even back in season 3, was always awkward, and her jokes didn't always land, and that was a thing that I feel like some people forget. Again, when she is coming out to Steve, when they're having their moment, and yes, they're on truth serum, but when they're having their moment in the bathroom, she makes some pretty bad jokes that are very similar to some of the jokes she's making now.
Yeah, but it was different in season 3 because she was also making jokes at a different point before the truth serum that it's separate. So I understand the argument and I understand the point because I almost agree with it to a full extent. That her character is just different from season 3 to season 5, season 3, season 4, 4 to 5. You get what I mean. So, oh God, Robin's not even like the worst case of it. Oh my God, Joyce. Joyce Byers.
Yeah, I would honestly say even more than Joyce, like
God,
Hopper. I
actually don't. I don't think he's written poorly. I don't think that he is you. Actually, no, let me rephrase that. I don't think he's written poorly. It's the fact that they're not doing anything necessarily new.
Correct. Excuse me. I feel like we've kind of stagnated more than I feel like we made some really great progress with Hopper over the seasons. Hopper is someone who I've loved in every season. This is Hopper's weakest season, and it feels like it's only because he's an amazing actor. Like, let's give that. David Harbour is an amazing actor. Every scene he's in, he steals. He does an amazing job with it. And he isn't written poorly, but what he's given, like you said, it's just the same things he's already done. He's scared for 11. He's the protective father. And I'm not saying that he can't be, and I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I just wish that there was a little bit new with his character.
That's why Volume 1 was worse than Volume 2. Volume 2, I actually think, got better. I think that's why the finale for his character could be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Volume 2 added the whole, this is the one positive about Callie's character, it did add the butting heads between her and Hopper.
Yeah.
Because
It
now,
gave another reason for
well,
him
it's
to
a
be-
whole,
yeah.
this is doing something new with it. It's a whole different element that he's never had to face. Yes, it's the same story, but he's never had to face this, where it's somebody who knows 11 probably better than Hopper ever can. And
I know where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from.
You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it creates a whole different dynamic for him. That's what I'm saying. I do think it's better, and I don't think it's worse than Joyce, because at the very least they are doing something new with Hopper when you add that into it. Joyce is, and it's fine. You know, she can be the mother.
The protective mother again. It's the same thing with Hopper, where they're just retreading the same territory for
Yeah, but for her, it's really retreading the territory.
I disagree though, because they have their moment in this batch, or was it last batch after it was before Will had powers, where she has the whole line of dialogue where she finally trusts Will. I think that is a little bit more of a conclusion.
I think it finishes in this batch of episodes, but it like started to finish.
Yeah, it started up in last batch, but it really finished this batch of episodes. And that's why, like, I don't hate Joyce as much as you do. I think that she's not a standout for
actually,
me.
Let's also, we used hate a lot this episode, and we used it in such big connotations. I want to sum this up. I don't hate anything this season. If I say that word, it's just to make a point, but I don't actually hate anything. It's more so disappointing, or things that I wish could have been done differently or better.
Yeah, I agree. I don't hate anything in the season other than Byler fans. But genuinely, but I think that, like, other than that, like, yeah, there's nothing I hate this season at all. And even with Callie, which is the weakest part of the season, I don't hate it. Now, the closest thing to me to hate is probably Dr. K.
Yeah,
just
and
because
I'm starting to feel that now too, because they didn't do anything with her. They gave her a motive, but the motive isn't enough.
It's again. You talked about this when we talked about the last, like, not even last batch. Well, it was when we talked about last batch, but we talked about it in a reference to other seasons of Stranger Things, where we talked about how you've always viewed the government as just, like, this entity that moves the plot along in an interesting way. I think I disagree with you in some sense, but I think Dr. K is the worst example of that.
It is now.
So, like, they've already given every explanation they're ever going to give for Dr. K's character, and it is not interesting, and it feels so unnecessarily tacked on, and that's why I feel like if you're gonna have them restart the experiments, Dr. K, okay, cool, you're gonna reveal that she was Dr. Brenner's mom or wife or any, like, they're not gonna do that, and if they do, it doesn't make it any better. It just feels kind of like an unnecessary, like, anecdote to me.
Sure. Well, and she's also a bilute of something that's like, going back to kind of the beginning of this whole thing. I'm not necessarily wrapping it up. You can go for as long as you want.
Yeah.
I'm running out of things to say. But going back to your thoughts in the beginning, you felt like the show isn't really like, I think you said this. You didn't feel like it was really wrapping up necessarily. Did you say that? Or was
So I said something along the lines of, like, I do wish that it felt, because here's the thing, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and they're kind of right, is every batch of episodes, and this goes beyond just this season, it goes back to other seasons in the way that the batches would end, they'd always end very big and monumental that would propel you into the next one. I do think that we have that here with them making the plan and clearly setting up. It just feels, when you ended the last batch of episodes with Will showing that he has powers, and the end of this is simply they put together a plan, it feels a lot less big and monumental and consequential, to where I don't, like, obviously I'm so excited to see the end of this season,
Sure.
but it feels a little weird, the fact that we own, like, it doesn't feel like they set it up to only have one episode left, is essentially what I'm getting at.
Well,
It's a long-winded way of saying it doesn't feel like we only have one episode.
Well, what I'm getting at that is, like, there are things from previous seasons that we just don't have any.
I need to check into my flight, by the way, so continue talking.
I love how we're doing that on the podcast.
Well, because I want to make sure
No, it's fine, it's fair. Season 4 ended with the government coming into the lab that 11 was in, and there's been an unanswered question that I don't think is going to get answered, and I really do, because I love that character, which is, what in the fuck happened to Dr. Owens?
Yeah, that was another thing I've seen people talk about that I
Like,
am.
are they just gonna like? There's a few things I'm guessing. One, they didn't write anything for him. Two, Paul Reiser just didn't want to return, and so he was just like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't write anything for him, or they do have a plan and they're just gonna put it in at the very end. Um, I just think we're so far into the season that I'm very surprised we haven't even heard anything. Like, at least give us a scene with Kay saying like, "Oh, I killed Dr. Owens. Like, I shot him in the head or something or whatever."
Yeah.
Like, saying something in regards to that wraps up his character at least. We don't have to see him, but if you give us something that says it, that we can wrap it up, done and done. Sure, that's great. Because like Owens was always a great character, and he always was this complex character. He's the good cop to Brenner's bad cop, especially in season 4. And I just wanted to see what they were going to do with that character. And there's a lot of moments like that or questions like that, especially in season 5, that you just don't know, how are they going to wrap it up with the 2 hours and 9 minutes that they actually have.
Yeah. Especially since we know that we're gonna get an epilogue. I've heard rumors that it's gonna be a 40-minute epilogue. That's another thing that we didn't really talk about, and I'll touch on very briefly. I don't want to stop your flow, so I'll let you finish.
I said it. But 40-minute epilogue, while you're checking in, I can go ahead and... I haven't heard this, but I was actually literally just about to say, I see a world in which this finale, because of how really quickly they could just end it, that the first hour of this episode is them actually ending it, and then the rest is leaving you off with the show. And that's kind of what it sounds like when you say, oh, the first hour, 15 minutes is this, and then the last 45 minutes is the epilogue. It's like Lord of the Rings, for example, when they just keep going, but it's a long epilogue to kind of leave you with the character so you feel happy and satisfied. I'm actually okay with that. There's a bunch of shows that are kind of like that, where it's like, oh, it's gonna take a while to end, so it leaves you on a happier note. I think Better Call Saul is a great example of that. There's not a moment that show stops, but it ends and it just keeps like that whole last episode's really an epilogue. Honestly, the last 3 episodes, if you're being completely serious, as you're trying to figure out what happens to these characters, but you know exactly what happens.
Well, and I feel, I don't know, because like with Stranger Things, we are getting kind of an epilogue to these characters. We're wrapping up Steve and Jonathan, Steve, Jonathan, Nancy. We're wrapping up Will. We're wrapping up Dustin.
We're wrapping up 10 years of what started off as a kidnapping of a boy into a strange land with, first off, we all know it just because obviously they're talking about how, oh yeah, we're going to have the worlds collide or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously the Upside Down is going to be destroyed by the end.
Correct. And so is Dimension X. Or maybe Dimension X won't be destroyed, but it'll now be connected to us.
Right, it'll be closed off. Yeah. The last thing I kind of want to touch on with this and, like, answering questions, because I also don't know how this is going to play out, are they going to do some sort of reveal that Vecna this entire time, even though they have said that he's always had the Mind Flayer as like a part of him, especially since he in the cave. And I know the Broadway musical, or not Broadway musical, the Broadway play answers a lot of this. But are they going to reveal, like, oh, there is actually still good in Henry? There has been good in Henry. I don't know if I like
I
that.
don't want them to.
If
they were going to, they would have set it up in this batch of episodes. And to me, they very clearly went the complete opposite direction and showed just how evil he was with wanting to sacrifice these kids.
I like the idea of playing it more empathetic, where it's like, oh man, this happened to him, but he's too far gone, and maybe not he himself recognizes like if he's too far gone, but like he's just so engulfed by the Mind Flayer, like you can't do anything about it, and so you feel bad for him.
Well, because they did give you a little bit of a moment in the cave when we see him come in contact with the Mind Flayer particles for the first time, because they're not going to show us what's inside the case. You're going to have to infer for yourself that it is a scientist that is carrying the Mind Flayer particles. Maybe we'll get an explanation. I don't know. That's a lot to fit into the 2 hours, but...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, their variable could be a world where they, like, all kind of realize, like, oh, he's been under the influence of the Mind Flayer this whole time. He was just a kid when all this happened to him. Like, I'm not saying, like, oh, his actions are justified, but it's also like, if they do that, it's not like, oh, the Joker's actions, the Joker, Anakin Skywalker.
I was gonna say, what are we doing here?
I don't know why I thought Joker when I said I meant to say Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
You hate that he does what he does to the Jedi Temple.
I mean, he murders a bunch of kids.
I'm not saying it's justified by any means, but you understand why it is, and you're empathetic about it because you do understand like what he's fighting for. It's a horrible example. Murdering kids is never justifiable, or is it?
Well, and it is a very similar thing with what Vecna's doing right now, trying to murder a bunch of kids.
It's very similar to Vecna and what he's doing, and that's kind of where I'm like at with it, where it's like they could do something like that and I'd be fine. I don't think they're going to do like a big twist where it's like, oh, I was wrong the whole time. Sorry, guys. I'm going to crash this thing into the thing now. Like, he's going to pull like a Scarlet Witch from Multiverse of Madness. I don't know. That I kind of wanted to touch on that because that's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
As far as like this is me wrapping up my thoughts.
Mm.
As far as like finales go, because of like especially with like the will scene and whatnot, I feel like there is a lack of urgency and a lack of stakes. I know the word's kind of hard to use in the context of it, because there is a lack of this real need for urgency. I am only relying on this finale of hype purely because I've spent the last 10 years watching the show, and not because I'm in the now. Like, I want to see how this ends. I want to see how this show of 10 years ends, when it really should be both. And that's just kind of where I'm at. I don't hate it. Mm-hmm. And sure as shit, I'm going to rewatch this show more times than you can imagine.
Yeah.
But I'm in a spot where it's like, I'm excited to see this. I'm not nearly as excited as I realistically should be.
I can understand that. I will say, I think it's very, very unfortunate, but admittedly a little funny, that, and you even brought it up yourself, that a lot of people are comparing this to the end of Game of Thrones. I don't know if you've seen this, a lot of Game of Thrones fans have come out and said, please stop disrespecting us, because you, first of all, Game of Thrones went on for longer than Stranger Things did. And second of all, I never watched Game of Thrones, but I know that it was a horrendously disrespectful and horrible ending. The fact that you're comparing at best, mid-ending to Game of Thrones is disrespectful, and a lot of it is Byler fans, and that's why I hate Byler fans.
Please stop comparing yourselves to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I explained this to a friend like this, and this could be inaccurate, accurate. It's just how I see it as of right now, and I'll definitely know by the finale.
Yeah.
The way this is being set up it's actually the exact opposite problem of Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones had some really, really bad, atrocious writing and a bad story and nothing that worked. But they had some pretty good like CGI and action scenes, and Stranger Things is the exact opposite. But Game of Thrones had a through line. Like they did tell a complete story that
did end.
It end, and unfortunately, I've always said this about Game of Thrones. It was never the choices they make with the ending. It's just it's how they got there.
Yeah.
Stranger Things is the opposite, where it's like you have great scenes, great writing, great dialogue, but it's very clear from the beginning you did not have a clear roadmap. Game of Thrones also didn't have a clear roadmap, but they told the story to completion with what George R.R. Martin gave them.
They wrapped up all their loose ends in a way that maybe you don't agree with, but they didn't wrap them up. They did wrap them up. Stranger Things feels like they're not going to wrap
not wrapping up anything. And I don't think they're pulling a Walking Dead, where it's like, hey, we know the show of 11 years that you've watched is ending. Here's some spin-off shows. Yeah. I know it's not going to be like that, but
I hope to God they don't do that. I really do.
Look, we'll talk about this on Saturday. We'll talk about the finale, and we'll figure it all out. That's just kind of where I stand.
I think that's fair. I think that both of us are obviously way higher on the finale than like most of the internet
I think so.
I think that I disagree with you in the sense of I am as excited, if not more excited than I was originally for the finale, but I will give you this, maybe it's not all for the reason. I'm excited to see how they wrap it up, because maybe it's because, admittedly, there's a chance that they could screw it up, and I'm excited to see if they do or not. Is that a little bit of a bad way to look at it? Yes, but at the same time, I think I am very excited to see this show come to an end, and I'm very excited for the fact that I get to see it in theaters surrounded by by Stranger Things fans and hear and feel the reactions of people. And not everyone's probably going to be seeing it for the first time, but a lot of people are going to be seeing it for the first time, and I'm very excited for that experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, next week, Stranger Things finale, and Marty Supreme.
Obviously, we'll probably talk about Stranger Things second. I know you're excited for it. You probably want Marty Supreme to be the main event.
No. Stranger Things will be the main event. It'll start out with Marty Supreme and go into.
It has to be. We built to it at this point. I mean,
yeah.
Are we doing a top 5 for TVs or shows, or did we kind of cut that? Because
we'll have to talk about that offline, just in terms of scheduling and stuff like that.
Then I'll wait till the finale to say where I probably rank Stranger Things amongst this year's TV shows. Speaking of which, like, just the TV shows we watched this year, oh my god, I completely forgot how many we actually watched.
And a lot of really good ones, like Andor,
and
phenomenal, and Invincible,
and then
amazing.
Some really bad to mid ones.
The Last of Us was not that bad.
It was not that bad, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't good either. It was not that bad. But it wasn't that good either.
It was worse than Stranger Things, but not by much. I really like season 2 of Stranger.
Really?
I really like season 2.
Oh yeah. I think you're talking about. Like, are you ranking the entirety of like rewatching Stranger Things, or are you talking about
just season 5? Season 5 versus season 2 of Stranger Things, or sorry, season 2 of The Last of Us. I like season 5 of Stranger Things better than The Last of Us season 2, but not by much. I like season 2 of The Last of Us, and maybe it's because
that's a hard sell.
Maybe it's because I did not know where the game went, other than big spoiler alert, Joel's death. It's the only thing I knew going in. I knew nothing else, so I had no other expectations. You knew where they were going, and you had the opportunity to be disappointed. I did not, so I was watching it from pure eyes, and I think that might have helped my experience, maybe, because I don't notice the changes from the game that people were upset about. I just see it as the show,
I guess. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're not talking about that. We'll talk about that if we do a top 5, top 10 TV shows of the year, because there were some good Andor, Invincible, Stranger Things, Peacemaker season 2. Yeah, there was a lot of really good TV this year, but that's for a later time. Anything else you want to say before we end this off?
Tired, running on 3 hours of sleep. I'm going to wrap this up with your permission.
Yep, go ahead.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your 2 favorite Nimrods, live and in person, talk all things nerdy. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, hey, give us a like, give us a follow, maybe drop a comment. Let us know how you're doing, how your day was. If you thought the podcast sucked, anything. You can find us on all streaming platforms under at Nimrods, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, anywhere. I promise you, we're there. We are literally everywhere. You can find us all also under Nimrods on all social media platforms, including Instagram, Facebook. What other social media platforms?
TikTok.
Oh my God, there's so many, so many things.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that was Stranger Things, Volume 2 of Season 5. And ladies and gentlemen, this is us saying, stay nerdy.